Hello, I'm pleased to have Joe Bastone with me today. Joe is Director of Product Marketing for Experian with Honeywell. Hello, Joe.
Hi, how you doing, Peter?
Good. So, Joe, what can you tell me about the latest macro trends that are affecting automation today?
So we see a lot of customers really focused on how they're going to deploy ever increasing systems, both in terms of size, complexity, and even remoteness. And it's those kind of macro trends that are really begging for more of a modular approach and a much more standardized approach in how they look at deploying those automation systems.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So obviously, a lot's changed on the execution side. So going back a decade, maybe perhaps a project looks different from an execution point of view. What's your opinion on how project execution has changed?
So over the last 40 years or so, we've seen projects be executed in more efficient ways. And up until about 10 years ago, we never really challenged the core principles behind why projects were being executed in the way they were being executed. So in around 2013, we introduced what we call LEAP, which is Honeywell's lean execution philosophy for implementing these automation projects. And that really went to challenge some of the core tenets and really take a look at how we could be more efficient and reduce some of the non-value added tasks that are associated with implementing these projects. We fast forward to today, where now we're introducing new solutions such as Experian PKS Hive, which is made up of the IO Hive, the Control Hive, and the IT Hive. And that further pushes the envelope in how we can deploy automation projects and further decouple the system, being able to better achieve the more modular approach that customers are looking for, while simultaneously being able to deploy a more standardized approach.
Yeah, okay, so that brings me to another question. So Honeywell released Experion PKS Hive about 8 months ago. Can you just recap a little bit more detail about what this technology is and how your customers are reacting to it?
Sure. So when we introduced Experian PKS Hive, the main focus that customers really gravitated towards was on the IO Hive standpoint. They saw immediately benefits on how they were going to be able to deploy their systems and be able to do it in a way that was more flexible and more forgiving in terms of late changes that might come on the system. If they needed to deploy more IO to the Hive, they could do that in a more incremental fashion. When we started taking a look at Control Hive and how that fits on top of it, it became much more efficient to be able to do that in a more piecemeal fashion. And we do that by really decoupling the elements of the system. So the IO is no longer bound to a specific controller. Instead, we can start to see IO as an extension of that modular equipment. When we look at it from the control side of things, instead of dedicating a certain control strategy to a specific controller, what we're able to do is instead look at all of the controllers in a bit of a virtual fashion and take a set number of controllers together as a control hive. When I build a control strategy and I want to load that control strategy, I can send it to the hive, or to the control hive, I should say, and then the Experian system will select the best fit controller for that particular control strategy.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So another question I had, So Honeywell also recently announced availability of the IT Hive.
Yes.
So can you just talk a little bit about what is the IT Hive, and have your customers expressed any concerns with this?
So the IT Hive really allows the Experian system to be deployed either fully on site or as a combination of on-site resources and IT deployment in a customer's data center. What we've done here is enable much more flexibility with how the systems are deployed, so we can take advantage of more centralized administration techniques, such as deploying Windows updates or antivirus updates or security patches to the underlying system. By being able to do this in a more centralized fashion, you can remove the need to have specialized expertise at each facility and instead concentrate it in a more central location so you can start to right size the amount of resources that are needed to keep these systems up to date. You also get the side benefit of being able to dedicate the control system engineers to focus on optimizing the control system instead of performing the IT functionality on site.
Great. Well, Joe, thanks very much for being with us today. I'm looking forward to watching your progress over the next several months.
Thank you very much, Peter.
We've been speaking with Joe Bastone. Joe is Director of Experian Product Management with Honeywell Process Solutions.